All right, finally. Whew. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this on time. Obviously, I did, and I'm a little bit late, but nevertheless, I'm here. So, yes, I was on the phone with Mike Lee from Precision Colors. We're going to talk about what we discussed. It's just a slight change or upgrade, if you will, to the Pro 100 ink set. I know you're saying, oh my God, I just bought that ink set. Well, I can't control his research and his quest to completely, nonstop improve that ink set. And he promised me, after I kind of yelled at him, that this is it. This is going to be it. And it's one color only. And I'm going to go ahead and run some tests. I'm going to go ahead and dig up my preliminary testing that I did with the OEM inks. Remember back that video when I introduced those Signature Edition ink set for the Pro 100, and I did the test with OEM and the PC SE or PC 42 SE, and just simply using ProLuster and just letting the driver do its thing, so that even the rank beginner can just basically migrate from OEM expensive to very, very low cost, inks from Precision Colors. And you should not see a difference between the two results. I went ahead, because I just, can't help it. I went ahead and did a custom profile, even though I knew I really didn't need it, but I needed to do it just because. And it actually did improve things a little bit. In fact, I went back and I decided, okay, how good is my profile compared to PC? And I downloaded the equivalent profile, same ink set, ran as side-by-side results, prints, that is, standard images, of course, and I could not detect any difference between the two renditions. So apparently mine are as good as his. So that's good to hear and good to know. All right, so that's what's coming, and it's going to probably be available. I'm getting the inks tomorrow. I'm getting something else from him today. That was also the reason I was waiting, because the mailman hasn't shown up yet. So normally he's here like an hour and a half ago, but maybe that guy, my normal mailman, is off for the day or something, and they got a alternative mailman. Later on, when I play a video for you guys to watch, I'll go upstairs and check to see if the mail came. But anyway, So you may have noticed that I've been uploading rather short videos, single topics, not too convoluted, not too long-winded. I just got yelled at by a couple of apparently very short attention span people who were complaining about my rendering intent video and the fact that I spent the first 6 minutes giving you some news and updates. Apparently, those people that were only there for the rendering intent part of the video just didn't want to hear about anything that Precision Colors had available. Yeah. But the rest of you, I know you do. And so, I appreciate that. I know who my followers are. I know who the people who really care are. And again, I'm just surprised so many people are actually viewing my videos. And I'm going to show you a little bit on analytics later on to show you what the percentage of viewers that view the videos and are not subscribed, and then those who view the videos, in fact, just about every video I upload, and are subscribed. The difference is alarming. And I think that's a pretty normal occurrence for most channels. Here's what I do. If I'm searching information about a topic and it is a topic of interest to me, which I assume you guys are here because you're interested in photo printing, then what happens is when you find someone that provides you with the information style that you're looking for, again, some people are just bump, 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 very concise, goodbye, see you, please subscribe, press that bell button, and we'll see you next week when I upload a new video. I feel like I need to carry on a conversation with you guys. And I think that's what separates me from the rest of the folks. I want to come across like I'm with you in the same room. And I hope that's the way it comes across. And if you guys think so, then fine. If you guys don't, then, I apologize. I'll try harder. So I got a bunch of topics right here. Okay. These are topics that I did recent videos on, some of which are not even recorded yet. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a synopsis of what I covered and why I think it's really good information, tips, that type of thing that everyone that gets into this should know and consider when they start printing at home. Somebody wanted to know, is it necessary to top off your Pro 100 cartridges? Don't they have an optical prism built in? So, theoretically, in my thinking, and I used to think this way too, until I was told I was wrong. If I keep that liquid chamber above that prism constantly, then the prism should not ever indicate a low condition. Well, the problem is that the prism's job of indicating a low condition, that is when the prism emerges out of liquid and is exposed to air, there's a little tiny beam of light that passes through it. And you know that prisms will diverge light. Well, it changes direction, and that's what triggers the low ink warning. But it only triggers it when the printer driver, firmware, EEPROM, whatever does this job, has decided that enough ink has passed through the print head. And by enough ink, I mean like 7 or 8 milliliters that exists always in the liquid chamber. When that amount of ink passes through, then it's just waiting for that prism to come in and perform its magic act. If I top it off, it might get confused for a few prints or so, but it will not be. It will not be confused. You're going to get an empty warning pretty soon. Once it indicates that you have run about 13 ml of ink, just picking a number. I don't know exactly how many ml these cartridges hold, but you see what I mean. Once the printer decided that so much ink has passed through, it throws that empty warning. It will bypass that low warning, in fact. So no, you cannot do that. You cannot just keep topping off. And the other question was, if I reset my chip, and it goes both ways. If I reset my chip, do I need to top off my card? Or if I top off my cart, do I need to reset my chip? Of course you do. Of course. Imagine a car with a tank with a given amount gallons of gasoline or petrol, and your gauge is off. Your gauge is not reporting the actual volume of gasoline or petrol in your tank, in your fuel tank. Don't go on a trip. Definitely, you might run out of gas all of a sudden, and your gauge is indicating you have half a tank full. Now, the lucky thing about it is that there are floats inside the tank, but I'm just giving you a scenario. Imagine if those two entities were not synchronized. In other words, if I put 15 gallons in my car, my gauge will indicate that I have 15 gallons of gas in my car. No more, no less. And so when I reach almost empty, or I get that empty warning because I drove too far without topping off my tank, I get a warning. But the warning actually reflects the actual amount of gas in my tank. You need to keep that coordination, if you will, between the actual volume of ink in your cartridge and what the chip is reporting, because the chip is only receiving information from the driver, from the printer, from the EEPROM, from the firmware, whoever does it, and it keeps subtracting a value. It keeps dropping. Okay, you see that level indicator drop? Okay, that has to reflect the actual volume of ink in the cartridge. So that was the whole thing about that, and I had to explain it in painful detail to this person. Otherwise, they just did not understand why they have to reset when they top off, or if they top off, you should also reset. And that only works with cartridges that are, resettable whenever you want. Some of the Epson refillables that use auto reset chips, you can reset them, at will. Anyway, next one. I had a frantic help question. Somebody, I forget the monitor type, but it's the monitors like mine that has a night viewing mode. Okay, what happens is, and it doesn't really work, I have it deactivated, but normally what will happen, if you have a room where you work that changes in the illumination intensity during the day is bright, and at night, of course, it's going to be darker, unless you have the room brightly lit. And I have a control environment here. Right now, I got my shade is up, so I'm letting some light in here, and I'm lighting myself with just 2 LED banks. But normally, everything is off. I may have a 60-watt bulb going up in the ceiling. The conditions in this room remain the same constantly. So I go ahead and I calibrate my monitor. And I get a very neutral calibration because I set the white point at D65, which is the normal default setting, daylight 6500, in other words. And I'm good to go. All of the calibration steps takes about 7 minutes to perform this operation. Everything is linearized, contrast is linearized, color neutrality is linearized as well, and everything. I mean, it's going to do about 118 different patches that is going to go ahead and generate, read. It'll go from dark all the way to white. So I get pretty much a perfect result, even with my lowly little HP monitor, which at the time I bought it was like $5. Expensive for the time, but it's really good. I mean, it calibrates really nicely. But it's got that pesky night mode. So if I had that little option activated, and my lighting conditions changed, at night it might go ahead and drop in density because during the day it has to be brighter than it would at night, right? That really messes things up. Okay, your calibration will go down the drain, because what happens, instead of doing a linear global adjustment of brightness, it's basically just global and not linear. So what this person was experiencing was that at night everything looked yellowish. So if he was editing and didn't really notice, his brain kind of got used to it, his eyes, he was subtracting yellowish color cast from his images, and everything was printing bluish. Of course, of course. And then during the day, everything would be back to normal again. So the moral, I guess, or take home message is if you have one of those monitors, and many monitors do have that, disable it, turn it off. Perform your calibration carefully, make sure that it's D65. And if the software you are using, if it's X-Ray, you can do this before and after. It'll give you an example of what it was before and after. And you will see it goes from really bad to neutral and darker. Um, the density of your screen, I have mine set at 80 CDM and then to the second power. So that's candelas. And so it seems to be the correct density setting or illumination or, whatever, brightness. And it matches what comes out of a printer. Most of my printers pretty much get it very, very close. I'm not going to say perfect because nothing's perfect. And I always judge my print results as it comes out of the printer. I hardly, unless I see something odd happening, I probably never go back to my screen because that print is it. That is your golden test, if you will. So when you have it in your hands and you view it under your whatever viewing lights you use, and it looks great, that's it. I don't need to go further unless I physically want to change something. And if I do, that's fine. I'll go back and make whatever adjustment. Maybe I want to dodge or burn an area or whatever. So I will go ahead and do that. But more chances than ever, when I bring that print over to the monitor and I put it right here next to it, I get a match. Okay, so that is the goal. And I got so many videos that I have revisited that same problem over and over, getting a match to your monitor. Because if you don't have that match, then what's the point of editing? Because you're then editing something that's not being displayed correctly. You're making adjustments to counteract that incorrect rendition. And what you end up with is a file you send to your printer that's wrong. And the printer's going to do its best to reproduce whatever you send to it. And that's what you're going to get. And of course, it's not going to match your monitor. You're going to be upset. But, anyway, if you guys just go back to those videos, you will see how simple this whole process can be. And I think what happens often is that we make this into rocket science, when in reality, most of the time it is not. Let's take a break and say howdy to the chat. I know some of you were waiting here quite early. Anthony Petit from Texas is here. I told everybody that I was going to be on at 5:30, but now I found out that I was done earlier, so I try to come on a bit earlier. George Gab says it's 92 in Texas. Fall is coming, so that's pretty cool temperatures for Texas. Apparently, by the way, I just got my shingles vaccine. I thought I was going to get the booster, but the previous vaccine that I got several years ago apparently was replaced. It wasn't very effective, so I just got it yesterday. My arm is killing me. So forgive me if I don't use my arm too much today. I'm going to leave it right here resting. I'm supposed to move it around a little bit, but Anyway, Robert Lively, also from Texas, Fort Worth. Art is here. Art's got that long name. We just call him Art. You will be able to see on the chat who I'm referring to. No one's home right now. Please leave a message at the beep. He was making a joke about me not being on. Cliff Fit from Denmark is here. Peter Yorth from Denmark as well. Henry Stoffel is here from Wales, Maine. The fall foliage will start soon. Yes, I remember, man, when I came back, when I was in the military, I was on tour in Korea. And I came back, and our next assignment was in Fort Devens, Massachusetts, which is now closed. And I had never experienced northeastern gorgeous trees like that. And I was blown away. I mean, I think I wore out my camera. Yeah. So I dig you. I know what you're talking about. Up there is just gorgeous. Robert Lively forgives me for being a little bit late. Iglo Aradontir, hello from Iceland. I know I massacred that name. Sorry, I apologize. Robert Lecomte from Atlanta, Georgia. Bob Carroll. Evening, everyone. Levite Apparel. Hi, new to YouTube. Got a channel having issue with topic help. I don't know what you're referring to, but if you feel like, elaborating, go ahead and do so. But remember, we're going to be talking printers here. So if you need help with YouTube, there are many channels out there that are simply there to educate people how to get the most out of the channel, how to get that algorithm working in their favor the best way, and so forth. We try not to discuss that here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I said Dave Murray, I think, from Scotland. Bob Carroll from Scotland also. Dave Murray. Hey, hiya, Bob. This guy is brilliant. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Cliff Medina is here. Cliff here. Bernard Moore says, greeting from Sutton, Connecticut. Andrew Mantovani II. Hello from the Bronx. Appreciate all your advice. Mike Cheney is here. Yay. Stopping by to say hi. Can't stay long because I am finishing up. Q Image 2020 will be released tomorrow. Wow, I can't wait. William J. McCall from Daytona Beach. All right, so we got a nice group of 33 folks right here, right now. If any of you 33 who are hanging here with me have not dropped on the chat and say who you are and where you're from and say howdy to the rest of the folks that are here, please go ahead and do so. It's always a nice thing to do for our little community here. All right. Do not ever, this was another video, I think that went up today. I think I uploaded it today. What I've been doing, by the way, is just scheduling videos. And basically what that means is I'll upload them the couple of days prior, and then I'll just schedule them to be released on a certain day and time frame. So I think this one went up maybe this morning. I'm not sure. Do not use any Canon Pro 1000 or higher if you plan on using that printer on location. Live events, not a good one for that. Not a good one. If you absolutely need 17-inch capacity, and you're not going to be doing panoramas, or you're just going to be printing on cut sheet, I would not use the Pro 1000. First of all, it just doesn't transport very well, and I'll discuss that after I tell you why I recommend the P800. The P800 will not have any of the problems that the Pro 1000 presents. Pro 1000 is great as a printer that you never move. Where you set it, make sure that you really plan well where you're going to, set that puppy down and make sure that your surface is level. Okay, it's got a level sensor underneath, a little lever that actually moves. It's got a little reader in the bottom, and it just senses the surface of the table. Okay, and it can tell if something is not quite. It'll actually, even if you're off by an angle, a degree or so, it will then take that as the zero level position. So it sort of resets itself back to a zeroing in type operation. So when you set it down, you will feel, any of you who have not set up your Pro 1000 yet, notice that when you set it down, you will feel that little lever sort of detract or retract into the body, the chassis. That's what it's doing. If you lift it up sideways, it's going to then tilt. And if the printer is on, oh, you're going to have a problem. So here's why you don't take the Pro 1000 to a show or to weekend shows. Let's forget about the weekend shows, but let's talk about, oh, I got to take my Pro 1000 in for servicing. Something happened. The printhead is not moving. So I need to take it in. Well, there is a procedure available in the LCD that is basically to prep the printer for transportation. Guess what it does? It has to empty all of the internal ink. Absolutely. So I am not sure whether it will continue to like empty all your cartridges, or can you take your cartridges out and just let it empty out whatever is at that point residing internally. You will need from 2 to 3, about 2.5 maintenance cartridges to collect all of that ink you will be then draining out of the printer. Can you imagine doing that before you go to your event and when you return from your event? Obviously, you don't want to do that. Okay. A set of OEM cartridges is $700. So there's no way anyone in their right mind is going to want to approach, that printer for, live event type printing. So P800, almost as heavy as the Pro 1000. But if you're a big giant brute and you can hold that sucker under your arm, it's fine. You can transport it that way. It's not going to cause any kind of problems with the cartridges installed or whatever. Not a problem. You may have a problem if you have a roll adapter. You'll have to remove that. But again, that might be an advantage that you need if you're going to be printing consecutive photos, say at an event. Okay, so you're going to need a trimmer over there, of course, because the P800 does not have a trimming function on the roll adapter. So, but again, you won't have to worry about that. So if you need 17-inch, forget the Pro 1000. You need the P800. That'll give you the correct capacity. None of the problems with transportation. And if you want to print roll, take your roll adapter with you and install it on the site, and you're ready to go. If you do not need roll printing and you still need 17-inch capacity, then if you have a 3880 that still prints fine, take that with you. It's even lighter. So that's probably what I would take if I did not need roll. So I know it's just people just cannot comprehend why Canon uses that type of technology, having this internal, vented to the atmosphere, reservoirs, if you will, and expect you to then having to empty them. Wow. I mean, again, it's beyond me, but I accept it because that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So where I set it right now, that's where it's going to stay. If I want to move it slightly, I power it off with the button and then very, very carefully slide it. Okay, carefully slide it to whatever position. I'm talking about just maybe back a few inches or front a few inches, because originally I wanted to make sure that manual tray was accessible. I got to climb on my little stool, my step stool, to reach the back anyway if I need to do some fine art printing. But yeah, not a printer for transportation. Forget it. Forget about it. Yes. All right. So, this is my favorite one. And I thought everyone was already aware of this, but apparently not. Okay. And here's the thing. In some papers more than others. So we'll just take this standard image right here. Somebody prints this, okay? And when it comes out, it looks like the ink coagulated on the surface, okay? So it'll look like, little wet droplets. The detail is gone. It just looks like water on an oily surface, okay? And then you have no idea what happened. Well, you can guess right now what I'm gonna say, right? You printed on the wrong side of the paper. So especially with these quick dry type papers, they're resin coated. So basically the back is coated with plastic. And the only thing that's not plastic coated is the coating for inkjet that's applied to the top. But if you remove all that coating, in other words, prior to coating, you just have a paper base that has been encased in resin, okay? Top and bottom. On the top, they apply another layer, and then on top of that, it's kind of a layer that will accept the inkjet coating, and then on top of that, the inkjet coating. They may do optical brighteners, okay, like these papers have. So The only way that you're going to get nice, crisp results, of course, would be printing on the correct side. If I was to do it in the back, I would get nothing but puddly results. Lucky for me, even for me, because I'm a big dummy sometimes, this has watermarks. I don't know if you can see them. It says Canon right on there. So, not a problem, unless I'm, a total fool and I just disregard that. I will never have that problem with this particular type of paper. I'll be able to tell. But what about a paper that's almost identical either side? The old trick comes to mind. This has been around for years. Wet your fingers a little bit, grab that surface, both of them in the corner, and let go. Whatever finger sticks, that's the surface you want to print on. You notice the back, it did not cause my finger to stick. Only the front. And there it is. I can just probably hold this until it fully dries and it falls off of my finger. But anyway, yeah, that was quite a grip it had there. Epsom paper, same thing. And there you go. Okay. Now, where you will see this even worse is, and you guys remember this set of charts that are unreadable or unscannable. This is Kodak paper. I didn't want to say, but this is Kodak paper, and it's what they call swellable surface paper. I don't know if you can see how shiny and plasticky that back of the paper is, and at least you can see that it says Kodak on it. But let me see what happens. It doesn't work, does it? Okay. So not all papers will allow you to perform that little trick. And those swellable surface papers take forever to dry. I have a little example here of a standard image. This is HP. And HP used to make nothing but swellable surface papers. By that I mean that these quick dry papers, they have a porous surface paper. So the ink enters that coating and can dry relatively quickly because it's open to the air, so it can evaporate very quickly. Not so with these. The only problem with that, and I'll tell you after I explain the virtues of this type of paper, even though they are a pain in the neck to use, but in reality, they're the best. Okay. But a pain in the neck to use. Look at the back. It's got all kinds of markings on it, like barcodes. I don't know what that is. And it's got this rough kind of surface. Like, it reminds me of, like, if you paint something with spray varnish and then you're in a very dusty environment. That's what this feels like. Like a ton of dust dried on that surface. Okay. So, what is so good about these papers? Well, remember that paper dries instantly. Basically, as soon as it comes out of the printer, you can practically just grab it and go. But that surface, the ink that penetrated through those pores is unprotected, especially dye ink. So guess what? And this is what we were talking about today with Mike. Ozone. Ozone, ozone, ozone. Forget about light. Light has very little impact, actually. Ozone is what will destroy your prints, especially those made with dye inks. If you don't want that to happen, then you got to switch over to pigment. But if you want to use that Pro 100, as we all love to do, and then you want to save a ton of money, you're going to have a lower longevity ink, period. And using a paper such as that is going to actually exasperate the fading process that takes place through dye ink oxidation. Gotta use my arm. So papers that are not allowing, if you will, the ink to be protected from air, ozone in the air, will fade rather quickly. Okay. Depends on your environment. Here at home, I still have not seen any fading. Now it's almost, let's see. The 26th is my birthday. The 28th of September will be 5 months. I believe 5 months already. Still no fade between OEM and Precision Color Signature Edition. Now, you might say, well, mine faded in 2 months. Well, your environment is worse than mine. Okay, that's simple as that. Mine must not be. And I'm exposing to it, relatively bright. It's probably the brightest area in my whole house. And so I have them taped to the wall and receiving all kinds of morning light and partial noon light. So again, no evidence of fading. Unless the OEM is fading as well, I don't see any evidence of fading. At the end of this whole year test, I will compare it to a brand new print and see what fading, if any, I will be able to visually see. Now, let's go to these magical swellable papers. The coating is not porous. When ink hits it, it swells, thus the name swellable. Okay, when it swells, it's basically practically, partially molten. Okay, and so the ink penetrates. It's not going to penetrate and just kind of migrate like a wick. It's going to penetrate that coating. It's not going anywhere. It's just going to penetrate it vertically right into it. And it will be wet. You can't touch it. You cannot be handling those prints when they come out of your printer. You might actually see like a bas relief type effect, kind of a 3D effect if you hold it sideways against the light like that. It's really odd the way that looks. And now, once they dry, like 2 to 3 days later, depends on your humidity levels, it will be perfectly smooth, perfectly beautifully glossy. And this print, even with Precision Color Signature Edition ink, will last for years. Years. Okay? Yes. I have this print up in my wall upstairs as well. And I just have it sitting here. This will be kind of like my control. This room is dark. So as far as light goes, it's not getting any light at all. Hardly. So we'll compare it to see what happens. I should not see probably no difference between the one exposed up there and the one down here, sort of in a more relaxed, protected environment. This is so dark in here, I would not even print. I would not even read a book. So, can you still get those papers? Sometimes you can if you look on eBay. And you have to look for HP or Kodak paper. So this one is the same thing. This paper is Kodak. It's got that same grainy feel to the backing. All right. It just will not perform like regular coated inkjet coated papers do. So you rely on that watermark. That's how you know not to print on that side. If you decide to do it just for fun, you will get this horrendous effect, okay? So anyway, let's see if there's anybody else here in the chat. We are up to 36 people. That's good. Awesome. I was hoping Eli would be here tonight with us, but maybe he's just out having fun. Okay, let's see who else we got here. Andrew Mantovani says, hello from the Bronx. Appreciate you. Mike Cheney's here. William J. McCall, 1066 Internet from Wisconsin, I believe you are. No, you might be from the UK. Yeah. What are the improvements on QImage 2020? Well, that's a secret, right? You will know when it gets published. What I would suggest, if you are an owner, is check tomorrow on the website and see what the new improvements are. I'm sure that they will be listed. I'm just as dumbfounded as everyone else. I really do not know, but knowing Mike Cheney, I'm sure that he improved that software even more. Like, you can already improve it more. I don't know what else you can possibly do. Anyway, Harold Goldberg says, hello from Richmond. All right, Harold. Zing 913945. That must be it. I don't know if that's a code to his safe or his padlock or a date. I don't think it's a date. Hi, Jose, and everyone from Zing in North Georgia. Wow. Bob Carroll, 2 print problems. Okay, finally a question. Guys, don't hesitate to ask questions on the chat. Okay, please do that. Don't just sit there and watch me talk. Ask me questions. If I see something interesting, I'll stop and I will, address that question for you guys. This is your chance. This is almost like a one-on-one on the phone, and I charge for that. So, this is your chance. You're here tonight. We're going to be on until about, I don't know, 8:15 or so. And so this is it. This is your I want to say your not venue, but your anyway, you know what I'm trying to say, to ask whatever you need to ask about your printing problems, printing models, ink types, that type of thing, settings, whatever you want to ask about. But be aware that I'm not a Mac expert, so I can only help you if you're a Windows user. Anyway, let's continue on. He has 2 print problems. We got 41 people now. All right. I asked on Toolman about the ink in lines of the Canon Pro 2000. Can I draw ink out with a needle? No, I would not do that, my friend. I know what you're trying to do. You want to probably move it, right? No, you can't. You will very, very likely kill that printer. Okay. You cannot, from a needle doing what? There are all kinds of internal sensors along that ink pathway from cartridge to printhead. There are sensors built in. Remember when Mike and I were trying to come up with a sys unit for the Pro 1000, and in theory this was going to be the bee's knee. It was going to work. No, he tried it and it bled ink internally all over the place. He had a big mess in his hands. So obviously that did not work. That triggered something. The sensor didn't like what it was feeling, if you will. And it kind of gave him a really wake-up call. And he called me back and said, hey, don't even try this, Jose. So no, you cannot be sticking needles in that Pro 1000. Not even. In fact, even if you could stick a needle where the ink enters from your cartridge, and that's a male spigot that sticks out. No, there are sensors inside. There are valves. There are little stopcocks, all kinds of devices to prevent ink from backing back out. So there's no way you're going to suck ink out. I hate to tell you, the only way to transport the Pro 2000 is to drain it. And that's even more expensive than the Pro 1000. Art is reminding everyone, remember to leave a thumbs up for Mr. J for another informative live stream. I appreciate that. And it always helps. It helps the live stream version video that YouTube will create downstream after tonight. Right now you're viewing me sort of live. There's about a 10-second delay, but eventually it will become an actual video. And the more likes that we get, the better it is publicized. So, something happened last week. I had the wrong kind of music, something that I generated with a music generator. And apparently the little bits of music that I stitched together, they were copyrighted. So I got a strike. So I had to demonetize that video. So I didn't earn a thing. But glad you guys enjoyed it anyway. I got a lot of views on it. And I'm going to show you where my channel now stands as far as socialblade.com, which kind of keeps track of all YouTube channels. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I'll give you a little background what's happening with the channel, where I was, years ago and where I am today. So I'm trying to be a little bit more transparent with, what I'm doing here. And I hope you guys appreciate that. So we're up to 44 right now. This is becoming quite a record. Wow, this is good. Again, don't forget, you guys, that I do have an Amazon affiliate page, okay? And you don't have to only buy something that I have listed there. I have many products listed, but you can just go in that link, amazon.com/Jose Rodriguez, something like that. And there's a link on my description of the video and also on the main channels page. Go in there, bookmark that. That'll be your new amazon.com, bookmark, only for the USA at this point, but it's still there. If you buy stuff from Amazon, it doesn't have to be anything printer related even. Go into the link, go into the actual affiliate page and search within that page. And whatever you buy, the channel will get a little bit of a cut. It's like 1% or something like that, 2% maybe. So it helps. It helps out because often, the revenue that you get is not sufficient to maintain what I am doing here. Anyway, no more begging. Let's continue with the chat here and see who else is having fun here with us. Mike, 200 Mike, Brooklyn, New York. Jan Lutner from Hooksett, New Hampshire. Bernhard Moore. It says forum. I don't know what that means. Bob Carroll is scrap, but the lines are full. Scrape, but the lines are full. I don't know what you mean. Are you talking about the Pro? Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, my friend. I hope that I do remember you asking that in the Facebook, I believe it was. But if you can just kind of, give us a little bit more information about exactly what it was that you were experiencing and why you wanted to drain the inks. I know you want to just harvest the inks and not waste them, right? That's what you want to do. Were you planning on having that printer service, or what was the purpose for you to, drain the inks, save them, if you will? Please remind me what that was. I read so many comments daily, I forget. Okay. Oh, okay. Zing with all the numbers, he says that the last 4 digits from my phone number years ago, and my age at the time was 45. All right. No secret code. Oh, too bad. I thought you were maybe another 007, Bob Carroll, unit died after being fixed, so everything is spares. Oh man, that's terrible. That's terrible. I hope you were not under warranty of any sort. Gee, that's rough. Michelle Peplinski is here from Madison, Wisconsin, doing work around the house while I listen. Alrighty. Well, pretty soon you're gonna have to watch, okay? Because I'm gonna be doing some demonstrations that I think you guys will find interesting. And I'll show you before I do that what it is that I'm going to be showing you how to do. And I know that, and also I got some mysteries that I want to put out to you guys. We're up to 46. If we hit 50, I think that'll be a record. And that is amazing. That'll be amazing. I hope it keeps up. If you have landed here, don't check out. Stay here with us. Things are going to get really, really good as we go along. Let me get these out of the way, and then we'll discuss the 2 demonstrations that I'm going to be performing. And since Mike is here, maybe Mike has already left, Mike Cheney, but I'll show you some of the really cool things that you could do through Lightroom as well as Photoshop. We're going to use Lightroom for this demonstration because I like their raw processing a little bit better. And what we're going to be doing is processing some DNG files from my Anafi drone. I took some aerial shots. We're going to go ahead and process those. I'm going to show them to you basically unprocessed, and then we're going to go through the steps that I normally go through to basically get the maximum dynamic range out of a raw image. And we'll show you how to do that. It's quite simple, especially if you have Lightroom. Then we'll export that over to QImage and prepare it for printing. All right. Yes. So, Adam McKenzie says, Jose, Adam here from Jamaica. All right, I remember you, my friend. Long time no hear. Bernhard Moore Forum is the word you were looking for. Yes, that's it. Forum. Anthony Petit, do swellable papers work with pigment inks? No, they were actually intended back in the day when no one knew what pigment inks were. Okay. So in the case of pigment inks, you don't have to worry. It's not going to really fade. Even third-party inks will have relatively good longevity. Okay, in just about any paper. You still get more longevity if you print on a good rag paper with no OBAs, no resin coated, coating of any sort, that type of thing. You'll get much more longevity, longer longevity, than you would printing on an RC coated paper like this. Okay, this is Epson, and the other one that I showed you earlier was Canon. If you refresh your memory, I know I showed you guys a while ago Ardenberg's results with Pro Luster compared to Palladuro soft gloss rag and the Pro 1000 with OEM inks, and it was like almost a 12x longevity difference between Pro Luster and the Palladuro soft gloss. But again, this is only light. We're not talking about ozone. And I don't know how badly ozone affects pigment inks. I think if you buy super cheap pigment inks from China, my stomach is growling. Quite often what you get is like a relatively low pigment content and the rest of the base is just dye. So they really cheat you in a way. They give you what is mostly like 80% dye ink with a little bit of pigment in it to make you think, because it kind of looks opaque on the bottle, so you think you're getting pure pigment ink like you do from Precision Colors or Ink Owl or any of the bigger companies. But yeah, you have to be very careful when you buy inks on eBay, like by the liter or something like that. Yeah, you might get a mixture of dye and some pigment. But yeah, it's all about the paper as well. So your dye inks, of course, third-party dye inks, even Canon, the top dye inks in the business, they're just not going to last like pigment inks. It's not going to last 100 years. That 100 plus, that has nothing to do with years. Okay, you may get 30 years under normal viewing conditions. That means under glass, not bare on the wall. That means under glass. If you want to extend your print life, you spray them and seal those pores. Okay, that's the whole idea. With this kind of cheap paper, you don't have to do the back. This is already sealed. Nothing can enter this backing. You got to seal the front, okay? And that will actually extend the life of your prints, even with, dye inks, okay? Third-party dye inks. So, just there are things that you can do to help the situation and still keep you printing at a relatively low cost. That's the whole goal. So that you don't have to worry about money when you print with these inks. You can have fun. You can print to your heart's content. The only thing you're spending money now really is paper, especially if you buy good paper. But before, you were spending tons of money on ink. 1 ml might cost you, over $1. Okay. Whereas, going the third party route, it could be, maybe a quarter per ml. So 25 cents. So yeah, they don't do very well with pigment inks. No, they're only designed for dye inks. And the reason behind that was because at the time that these printers were around, they were all using dye inks, especially the Epsons, the Canons. Canon was just terrible back in the day. Epson was the only company that did have a good set of printers, but a lot of them suffered from very low longevity, let me tell you. And all of those were dye ink types. So like the 780, the 870, the 11, I think it was a 1280. Yeah, it had a 5-color cartridge and then a black cartridge. Horrible. Okay, the results were great straight out of the printer. But within a couple of weeks, under certain conditions, you would start noticing fading. And you would start noticing incredible shift in color balance. So at that time, The only thing that you could do was use those pain in the butt papers, swellable type papers, and you print and you put it, don't touch it for 3-4 days until it's fully dry. And by that point, and I mean put it in a box so it doesn't get hit by light, because back then light had the most effect on these dye inks. UV, that is. All right, Mike Cheney is going to have to leave around 6:30. And if you guys have any questions for Mike right now, he's here for another 25 minutes. Go ahead and post them here. He'll be able to see them. He'll be able to talk back with you. And if I see something that's really interesting for the whole group, I'll go ahead and read it out. Ligia Cuevas from Union, Kentucky. Cuevas Johnson. Bob Carroll says, can I ask about a sublimation problem here? Of course you can. If it has to do with printing, ask away. No problem. I'll wait for you to go ahead and get back. Levite Apparel. Hi, back. Okay. Bob Carroll says, using the same paper settings, everything, the color on my print has just got lighter. The only thing I have done is a monitor calibration using ColorMonkey. So you're talking about your finished transfer, or you're talking about what you see on your sublimation transfer paper? Okay. Please, give me, tell me what it is that you're actually referring to. If you calibrated your monitor and you change the luminosity level, then you might be compensating or overcompensating or undercompensating in your edits. Simple as that. It could be as simple as that. What you need to do is don't worry about your transfer paper. Only look at your finished transfers, especially something that's photographic, like printing on aluminum or transferring to aluminum sheets like Chromolux or any of the other lower cost but less quality aluminum transfers. If it's a little bit too dark, you could have a temperature that's too high. You could be transferring for too long a time. There's so many variables. It's not like printing, where your main settings are, it's your monitor calibrated, so your image that you sent is correct, and then the printer prints it correctly. If your monitor is too dark and you lighten that image to compensate for that, the print's going to be too light. If your monitor is too light and you compensate for that by bringing the brightness down, your printer is going to give you a dark rendition. With sublimation, oh my gosh, the type of paper, the settings that you use to print, and I'm using for most of my sublimation work, because you're working on an Epson type printer or other piezo crystal type printers, then you're going to go ahead and choose maybe premium matte as your paper type, and you don't have a color profile, so you're just going to let the driver perform the color management. If you're sending from Photoshop, you tell it to allow the driver to control color. You're going to choose one of the matte papers, and then your quality setting, and print, and then take that sheet after you dry it, transfer it. So now you got pressure, you got substrate type, you got pressure, you got heat, and you got time. All of those 4 items will have a significant effect on how your final transfer looks. Yes. So that's the catch about sublimation printing. It's when you get it, don't sublimate onto 15 or 20 different substrates. Just like I always say, don't start messing around with like 15 or 20 different types of paper. You'll go nuts. Master 2, only 2. Once you master those 2, get a sample kit from someone else and start checking how those papers perform. You may like 2 of the 10 really, really, a lot. and you may not like the other 8 as much. And so with sublimation, it's the paper that you use for transferring, the type of coating they use, and then of course those other 4 factors that are basically what your heat press is controlling. Oh boy, it is hard. It's hard to maintain a really good predictable result unless you have a very expensive heat press that is very accurate across the complete plate. In other words, it doesn't change 1 degree regardless of that big surface, that heating surface. That doesn't happen with those $200, $300 heat presses. No, you will not have that degree of accuracy. So when an area is a little bit, few degrees cooler than the corner over here, this is going to be darker, this is going to be lighter. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to get, consistent results. Levite Apparel says, I just got a 7710 printer from one of your videos. Great. I don't know what video you might be talking about because I don't even know what that printer model is. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that model? I'm sorry. You're talking about sublimation, but because later on you say something about a Ricoh printer. But my Ricoh printer won't feed correct. What to do? It's about the rollers, my friend. So you got to make sure that they're always kept clean. Look for dust. Look for deterioration of the rubber rollers. What can I tell you? So many things that can actually, cause misfeed of paper. Bob Carroll said that his results have gone more yellow and killed the blues. I don't know what to tell you. It's all about getting that recipe of those 4, items: heat or temperature, pressure, time, and of course your paper. Okay, so when you see the paper, it's going to look very dull and it's not going to look as bright and brilliant as it will on aluminum. Just keep experimenting until you get the recipe that works, and create some sort of preset on your printer that you can recall, and the same thing in whatever software you're using to print what's going to be transferred. Create some sort of preset that you could always repeat. That's why QImage is so good. QImage lets you save presets for everything, and it remembers every setting from layout, paper size, paper type, printer, driver, everything under the sun that it took to create that job. You can save it and recall it. You can save like a standard sublimation transfer printing routine and just save it, name it that, and you pull that up and just load your image. Done, and print. Okay, as long as you're using the same paper, the same inks, the same printer, and of course temperature, pressure, time is the same every single time, then you should have a somewhat more consistent result. And I'm not going to tell you it's going to be 100% consistent. It's just going to be better. Yolanda Rowe says, whispers. Hawaii? Is that high or just high? Or is it Hawaii? I don't know. Bob or Levi Apparel says, but my Ricoh printer won't feed correctly. Yeah, we talked about that. It's the rollers. Check your rollers. Check the paper that you're using and see what could possibly be causing. Is it skewing? Is it missing? Is it pulling 2 sheets at the same time? There are many types of feeding problems that you could possibly, be experiencing. And again, one of the tricks that I used to use, and it's not really highly recommended because if you do this too often, you'll cause more harm than good. But in order for you to be able to grab any lint or dust that may be building up on the rollers are supposed to be somewhat sticky. So you can imagine cat hair, dust from the air, whatever. you take a sheet of paper and you fold it in half. Okay. Take a little spray bottle with some alcohol and just wet the bottom half and feed it. Feed it wet end first. And just press the feed button. The paper will go through and the wet portion will pick up dust and the dry portion will immediately dry the rollers. And do that a couple of times every once in a while. Don't do it all the time because it could dry your rollers and cause them to crack, and you don't want to do that because alcohol is not good for that. The reason I use alcohol is because it dries like that. So isopropyl alcohol is what I would use to spray the bottom half. Feed it through, that wet half of the paper will pick up the dust and the dry half will dry the rollers. Yeah, Bob Carroll says the Sawgrass 400 with Sawgrass inks on Subly Flex. Last 100 mugs done on 100. Oh, you're using mugs. Okay, so, okay, that's different. I really haven't done too many mugs lately. I kind of stick with imaging, actual prints that I would normally do on paper. I do them on aluminum. Just keep experimenting, man. I don't think that even Condi, even though they sell Sawgrass, I don't know if Condi will have something like an ICC profile for that. You can imagine how impossible that would be to create, because you would literally have to create it, print this chart on a mug, and then scan it. Think about that. Think about how impossible that would be. I did it on a sheet of aluminum, but I had to reduce it to like 5x7. And I did manage to do it, and it did sort of work okay. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was before. Levi says, my channel will be using a lot of sublimation printing. Can I use Amazon inks? Actually, you know what? If you don't mind, if you want to order through Amazon, please do so and use my affiliate link. If you want to do that. But Precision Colors has, I believe, is up to 8 color sublimation ink set. That's what I've been using in the past. And if you want to go back, Levi, and look at my sublimation videos, please do so. You'll be able to see what I've been doing, what I'm able to do. And you'll see that was done with just like the 4 color sublimation ink set using just a simple Workforce 1100 4 color printer. Well, I now have an R3000 loaded with 8 sublimation colors. Okay, remember that there is no matte black, there's no photo black in sublimation, just one black. So both of those black cartridges are loaded with the same ink. But anyway, imagine the fidelity I'll be able to get going from just simple 4 color to 8 color. Okay, it should be incredible. So precisioncolors.com, they have those inks, and I will go ahead and show you guys a little bit later kind of how to navigate through that website. Is you got to realize that Mike Lee runs that company, one-man company, out of his home in Ontario, and he's also the webmaster. So if you think that his website is unprofessional looking, forget about that. Just put it behind you. Get over it. Okay, there's no way that I could produce a better website. So unless someone wants to donate money to him and hire a professional, just live with it. It's not that hard to navigate. And I will take you through a little short tour so you can see what's available, including these new sublimation inks, which I have in the back room right now. Okay. AKA Joe Lewis says, how do you refill ink on a Pro 1000? You use a syringe with an adapter, and you push some ink in, and you pull back to create a vacuum, and you push some ink in, and you pull back to create yet another vacuum, and you do so until you have loaded 80 milliliters of ink, assuming that your cartridge was empty to begin with. You want to see me do that? Go back to my Pro 1000 playlist. You guys got to realize I got over 60 some odd playlists, all of them categorized by subject matter. Do yourselves a favor. Don't ask me a question, because I got over 1,300 videos now, and I have no idea. Right off the bat, I cannot answer you about a specific video. Spend a little bit of time, go back and locate the playlist that pertains to your subject, the questions that you might be interested in having, answered, and search. And you will likely find a video that covers that question. And be prepared to have it explained in excruciating detail. Okay, I don't want to leave you with questions at the end of you having watched that video. Like I always say, if you still have questions, then I basically failed. I did not cover what I should have covered, or I thought I covered it, but I did not, because you obviously have another question. So go back and look at those. You have a question about sublimation, I got 2 playlists. Got a question about printer maintenance, I got 1 playlist of that. And it runs the gamut, 60 plus playlists. So go back and look at sublimation. If you're interested in that, go back and look at the Pro 1000 playlist. There's quite a few videos in there, and you just find the one that will answer your particular question or has to do with that subject, especially this way. This time it'll be refilling. So I got videos there that teach you how to do that. I run you through the process. You will not have any questions afterwards, I hope. Alrighty, so Levi says to smash that like button. And Joe Lewis says, thank you so much. All right, so let's continue with one more subject. Then I'm going to take you over to PC's website and give you a little tour about the latest things. Now, I told him that he has to, he hasn't had time to work on his website. So maybe this fall, once he gets this new ink, it's one color that he's going to add to the mix for the Pro 100 SE. So everybody that has a Pro 100 and are using these inks, be prepared to buy cyan. That's going to be an improved cyan. He saw something on a set of prints. Remember, go back and look at my videos pertaining to the Pro 100 OEM versus secondary, signature edition. Go back and look at those. He saw something even on video that I probably did not see. One image that I printed besides the standard images that I printed. And he noticed something in what should have been cyan. And he saw where his signature edition current cyan didn't quite live up to expectations, at least his expectations, which are a lot higher than mine. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. So he's worked on a cyan that I'll be receiving Monday. And so I'm going to go ahead and test that. He's sending me a cyan CLI 42 empty, flushed, and modified cartridge. We'll fill that up. I will pop it back into the printer. Or before I do that, I will do a series of prints with the full signature edition. Then we'll remove the cyan, put the new cyan in, clean the cycle, and repeat the same series of photographs and see if there's a difference. Okay. And, you're interested? Have a look. Have a look at the results. They're not going to be sugar coated. They're going to be as they come out. And again, I'm going to just be using the driver to do this. Okay. So that should be pretty straightforward. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah. Black and white printing. So people are printing black and white using, fairly different methods. They're letting like I normally do, I just let the application control color. I'm using a custom ICC profile. I turn off color management in the printer driver. So the printer driver is not interfering with color management. The only thing the printer driver does is sets parameters that are physical to the paper type, the emulsion or the coating, how much ink density it requires, that sort of thing. But the ICC controls all of the color management. What does that mean? It just means that the information sent to the driver, okay, and then to the printer from my image will be then sort of orchestrated, translated, figured out, magic, all of this stuff that the ICC profile does. And it will attempt to reproduce all of the values that I sent to it as accurately as possible, depending how good my profile is. Okay, so that's what you're doing. So you're printing through the application. With an ICC profile, you turn off color management in the driver. If you just want to let the driver control color, if you're printing on Canon, Pro Luster, you just choose Pro Luster in the driver. Make sure that it's set to color / intensity manual adjustment, and then the matching tab and ICM. Okay? And that will actually load that profile for Pro Luster. Now, how do I keep Photoshop from interfering? I tell Photoshop to let the driver control color. And whatever ICC profiles were visible will be grayed out. Okay? So that's 2 ways of doing it. And it works beautifully with OEM inks, and it also works great even with these new Signature Edition inks from Precision Colors. So this allows a beginner, someone just got a Pro 100 because the deal was too good to pass up. Okay, great rebate, got a free box of paper. You really don't know what you're doing. Okay, you really don't know what you're doing yet. And so you're getting into this from the beginning. So why would you want to suffer through this transition period from the OEM inks to the Precision Colors inks? They're so well matched that you can just go from OEM to PC and your results will never change. Okay, and you're still just printing with the driver. This only works, of course, with Canon papers because that's what the driver is kind of calibrated, set to work with. Other papers, you'll need custom profiles. You'll have to revert to the opposite, letting your application control color, and then you turn off color matching, or in the case of Epson is color management, color control, whatever they call it. It's different on every driver. So I wish they would get that, the same for every driver, but either one, not both. Okay, so black and white printing. I just gave you a little background on what color management is and how to set it. Black and white printing. Either print through an ICC profile, turn off color management in the driver, let Photoshop manage color, ICC profile for that particular paper, custom. You convert your image to black and white and print it. It should be neutral. It should be perfect. Okay. If you got a color cast, gosh, I don't know why. You should not be getting a color cast. It should be perfect. Okay. It should be neutral. And so what about, hey, I've heard that these printers have a special like black and white printing mode. Yes, they do. Epson K3, meaning black and 2 grays, either photo black or matte black and 2 grays, K, black 3. Printers, they call it advanced black and white mode. Okay. And that allows you to print even a color image that you never converted to black and white. It will be converted to black and white for you. And then you manually adjust your tone, whether you want it, warmer, cooler, whatever tonal range you want. It'll be applied globally. Sepia color, brownish sepia look. The same thing with your Canon driver. It's called black and white mode. Here's the thing. When you're using those modes, you cannot absolutely, if you want to do it manually, force it to do so. You never print through an ICC profile when you're using one of these designated or dedicated black and white modes, whether it's advanced black and white or black and white mode in a Canon. You do not use ICC profile. No color management. Okay, no color is being printed. Remember, it's neutral, so no color management is required. What if you get a slightly greenish result? Then you use that adjustment, that manual adjustment, to neutralize that green tone, that green slight cast, the opposite direction. So green, opposite of that is magenta. So you would basically add a little magenta or subtract green, whatever. And that will allow you to manually adjust these parameters until your output is neutral to your eyes. just remember, you cannot have Photoshop, Lightroom, QImage, whatever you want to use, control color at the same time you're attempting to print using advanced black and white or black and white mode in your driver. If you do so, double profiling again, okay? And you will get a cast, period. A cast that might be too intense for you to be able to nullify with that adjustment, the manual adjustment. So never do that, okay? If you print black and white using those modes, your application cannot be controlling color. It's strictly the driver, okay? And when you choose those, you may notice that any of these matching tabs, you know, color slash intensity manual adjustment, and then matching, those choices will be grayed out. You can't even pick them, okay? So that means that the driver has sort of disconnected itself from all color management, okay? And the only thing you could do to change the output is to manually adjust sliders and so forth. Brightness, contrast, you know, you name it. And then color cast, okay? It's actually pretty good. It will primarily use your black inks, and then it will use your other colors, magenta, cyan, and yellow, to add those bits of tone or to neutralize any possible slight color cast you may end up with. Okay, it all depends on the paper type and so forth. Remember, you're not using color management anymore, so everything's going to have to be manually done. Now, Print Studio Pro, really good about that. If you're a beginner, you don't know much about color management, I recommend you use PSP, because PSP kind of takes all of the questions out of the the mix. It just does things for you automatically. You don't have to worry about anything. So great for the beginner. Let's take a break. Let's go ahead and jump over to the screen here. And I want to go ahead and minimize this. Take you over to Precision Colors real quick here. You still can see the chat. So go ahead and ask questions. Quickly put them on there, because I want to go ahead and get to them, because I have a couple of demonstrations that I want to show you as well. Hopefully when I do demos, usually I screw up, but we'll see. We'll see. I hope everything works out and comes out smoothly. So this is a website. Again, it doesn't look like most other websites. It's very simple. You have a Canon Pro 100. There it is. That's your tab. That is your passport to the world of Canon Pro 100. Canon Pro 10. Same thing. Sublimation inks now available. Do you like those squeezy bottles for injecting ink into your cartridges with just a bottle and a needle and no syringes? You don't have to wash anything. This is where you go. Canon Pro 1000. How about those Canon Mega Tank G type printers? Right here. Now, if you are outside of the USA, its territories in Canada, you can use a drop shipping type company to ship to your country. And here are the two companies that are able to do that. Videos right here for you to look at. These are my own videos. How to refill and use. Actually, no, this is the actual videos that you should be looking at if you're interested in using the Signature Edition inks. Okay, this is where I actually do the testing and show you the results. Now, what if you just want to look at specific items? For instance, Canon. So he goes back to Mega 2 cartridge cannons, 4 tank cannons, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 in wide format. So let's see, the Pro 10 uses 10 cartridges. You either have a 9500 Mark II or 9500 plain, or the Pro 10. So PGI 9, PGI 72. Click on the Pro 10 and you land here. Pro 10 explanation as to what these products are, all written here. The refill kits, if you just want to go ahead and buy a complete kit, including the resetter and your little bottles, you go here. If you just need a bottle of a certain color, you go here. Chip resetter, you go here. Accessories that you might need, needles, syringes, all sorts of things, little scales, whatever you need, right here. Cartridges, if you want to buy cartridges, you go here, but they just don't have any. These are extremely difficult to get a hold of. And instructions. Be sure to watch these, okay? Please do so. Don't come back later and say that, you made a mistake when you had the opportunity to read and also watch these instructional videos. ICC profiles. These are custom profiles, free. Signature edition ink set right here. The previous version right here. You basically click on that. You have lots of profiles here for different papers. Not as many as other printers. Yes, I had a chance to really create a lot more profiles. Let's go ahead and explore another category here. So we'll back all the way out. We'll go to the 12 color. This will be the Pro 1, PGI 21, 29, and the Pro 1000. Let's click on the Pro 1000. Seems to be very popular printer. So here we go. This is what you have available. Ink supplies are here. You can buy OEM loads or Signature Edition. Signature Edition comes with OEM yellow, OEM chroma optimizer, OEM red, and OEM blue ink loads. Okay, you get the top quality results that way. Or if you want to spend a little bit more money, $35 for 80 milliliters of ink. Those are all original OEM bulk inks. No one ever is selling bulk OEM inks. Video instructions. Here's some videos right here for you to watch. Okay, ICC profiles. Here's your profile list. Many, many papers, as you can see. All of them available for free to download and use as long as you're using his particular ink set. Usage tips, instructions. So you see, there's a ton of information here. Epson, let's go to Epson. Sublimation ink, someone here is into this at this point, so here we go. Your 4-color set, add light magenta, light cyan, and light black and light black. And there you go. You're all set. Bulk inks, you can buy them either by the set or individual, and so on. And many, many other categories here. You just kind of have to navigate yourself through all of the different choices. So you can see they're all listed here. So I don't understand what the complaints are. Really, it's not that bad at all. Okay. I need a swig of this root beer, birch beer. So just so you guys know, I will be doing the live stream next week. So that'll be the 21st. I will be away. I'll be coming back from Florida. We're going on my birthday trip to Orlando, to Disney World. And I may do the live stream Sunday evening. Okay. Unless I'm super tired. Okay. So we'll see. We'll play that by ear. So up to now, it'll be either the Sunday, or I'll just skip the last Saturday of the month. Okay, Adam McKenzie says, well, I just let the printer driver on my Pro 100 manage the black and white. Yeah, you can do that. And just make sure that you don't make the mistake to, like tell Photoshop or Lightroom to control color at the same time. It will really throw off your color balance. Do it within the driver, black and white mode, and then you can adjust your slight tonalities. You want to make something, I think it depends on the subject matter. Something that should be warmish looking, you can adjust that. You can tweak it a little bit. Something that if you have glaciers, falling off the edge, and you're on a cruise ship looking at traveling through Alaska, you might want to do that a little bit, go toward the cool side. It's just that psychological effect that you get to adjust the color balance. And it's global, okay? It's not duotone, it's global. Let's see. Bob Carroll says the ink card chips you can buy, do they only last one refill? Or are they resettable? Of course not. They're not resettable. No chips are going to be resettable from this point onward. Get used to it. I know. Very hard. Very hard to get used to that idea. But no Epson printer is ever going to be made available with a resettable chip. No more. The China companies are going to develop basically single-use chips. That's what's going to only be available from this point onward. And yeah, we got to get used to that. So I assume you mean for the Pro 1000? So yeah, single-use chips. I believe that they were, let me take a quick look again. I think it was like $12 per chip. So really, you're not reducing your printing costs by that much. Okay, either spend $60 a cartridge, OEM, or even if you use $35 OEM load, add $12 to that, so that will be your final cost for printing. So let's go over. Let me take a quick look here at the Pro 1000, and you know what other companies are saying. They're just telling you to just disable ink monitoring and just work without ink monitoring, and that will allow you to $12 each. So those are the single-use chips, $12. Hang on, let me see, make sure. Yeah, choose your chips. Yeah, $12 one-time use. So that's what it is, and that's going to be the norm from now on. No more free ride. Yep. Take care of your existing printers today that are able to use resettable or auto reset chips. Take care of those printers. You're no longer going to see that. Pro 1, there was no resettable system, only single-use chips. Pro 1000, those so-called auto reset chips didn't work. Okay, thousands of dollars were lost by PC on that little, adventure. So single-use chips is the way to go now. But P800, oh man, let's talk about that. Last week I brought that up and I had uploaded a video. Chipless solutions. So chipless solutions apparently works. Okay, I was waiting for information from actual users, actual guinea pigs, if you will, that had actually done it and not just talking about it. And so far I got about 6 people that have sought me and told me that they're doing it and it works. The last one was a guy who downloaded the software, the firmware, but then he was getting ready to install it and he needed the reset key, which is a serial code. And he went to eBay to try to buy it from somebody. And the guy told him, hey, that reset keys do not exist for the P800. And I said, baloney, don't go there. Why did you go there? You should have gone to chiplesssolutions.com. Simple. He went there, bought his key, $60, used it to install the chipless firmware. Everything is reading full now. So that'll be from now on. All he has to do is keep those refillable cartridges, filled up. Don't let them go down below a certain level, because then you will lose your priming chamber ink. Okay, and then you'll have to redo that whole thing again. You don't want to do that. You'll get air in your ink lines. Oh my God, no. So make sure that from that point onward, every so many weeks, you open up that ink compartment and physically look at your cartridges and top them off if you need to. Okay, you should be able to do that simply by just once a month or so, depending on how much you print. Let's see what else was being discussed about that. And so now I told Mike, listen, why don't you do that? He's running his P800 on the decoder board, the chip decoder board. I said, Mike, I don't want to take my decoder board out of my printer and reinstall all those cables again so that it works internally like an original printer does. He said he would be willing to do that, and then he would test that software. Then from that point onward, he can then suggest that to people. Because I said, listen, if you can get this to work on yours and it's, something that's consistent and works, you should be able to ramp up your business pertaining to the P800. Right now, he's not selling any refillable cartridges whatsoever for the P800. Hardly. And why sell inks when you can't use them anyway, right? So that part of the business has gone, So I told him, get this stuff done, get it, verified by yourself, and then that way you'll be able to invent, if you will, or bring back to life that portion of the business, the P800. And it's made it all of a sudden into a printer that can be used here in the North American continent with third-party products, where before it was impossible. Unless you wanted to spend $400 on a decoder board. Which luckily I didn't have to do because I was provided with one for testing. But remember, those things are not really reliable. I went through 3 when finally I got the third one to work. So, okay, let's see what else we got here. See if we got any more questions, and we'll jump over to some questions over here in my YouTube comments, and then I'll show you Facebook. We did hit 3,000 members, which is really good. That happened just the other day. 3,005 members. So we're rolling. We're rolling right now. Doing good. Yeah, so Bob, 1 refill per chip. That's it. So, but you know, that doesn't mean that you're going to run that cartridge till empty, you know, physically. So, yeah, 1 chip, but keep that cartridge, you know, topped off. Always having ink in the cartridge is better than assuming that when the chip goes empty, that your cartridge magically matches as far as, you know, the condition. Okay, it doesn't happen. Okay, so make sure that you always have ink in your cartridges, because they're you know, you don't want to end up with air in your ink lines. Although the Pro 1000 is not known for problems because it will eventually vent itself out. That's the reason for those internal compartments. Okay, I know I'm rambling, but I'm giving you all this information that is connected. Internal compartments are vented to the internal atmosphere, which is our atmosphere. And so any air that can get through those ink lines from the cartridges to the ink lines will be vented out. It will not matter. It'll never reach the printhead. Okay. That is the advantage of those internal compartments. But you can be moving that printer around, or you'll have a disaster in your hands. Okay. David B. Cosini. Hello, Jose from hot Southern California. Help, please. I have a Pro 10 Chrome Optimizer. Channel is clogged, so I removed the head, soaked it in Windex ammonia, rinse, and let it dry overnight. Colors are clogged. Oh, boy. Yeah, you did something. That is something I would never recommend right away, because you could end up doing more harm than good. And yeah. Are you saying that when you do the nozzle check, you get no indication of color, that white band that it prints? All I would say is load up some cartridges with ink. I don't know if you're using third party or not. Load it up, put them in the printer, printhead assembly, run a cleaning cycle, wait overnight, print a nozzle check. Keep all your nozzle checks consecutively, okay? So that you can then keep a track of any progress you might be making, or lack of, you know, and then just see if you're improving. If you have aspiration of air inside, or if you have just Windex still in there, you never rinsed it out. Did you rinse it out with water? Drip, drip, drip from the top sponges, the little ports on the printhead, until nothing came out, until it was just clear. And then you put that, let it dry completely, and then you put it back in your printer with newly refilled reset cartridges. And again, cleaning cycle, rest it overnight, nozzle check, save that nozzle check. Still not good. One more cleaning cycle. If it's scattered throughout those 10 colors, run a global cleaning cycle, because you can run individual groups if it's just colors within one particular group. But if it's the whole kit and caboodle, then you're gonna just run a global cleaning cycle, the whole thing. And again, let it rest again, and keep doing this. It might take you days, but once you get it clean, just make sure it doesn't happen again. I mean, could be lack of printing, could be many reasons. cartridge not flowing enough ink, not providing enough ink flow. Again, many reasons. If I was there with you, I can probably sort it out, but it's hard, miles and miles away from each other. So, all right, Mike Cheney is going to go back to work, and we will be rewarded with the QImage 2020. William McCall, that was me, Jose, with the chipless solution key issue from eBay. Okay, so there you go. So you can tell everybody here, since you're here with us tonight, that it is working. And so, how did the installation go? Did you meet any pitfalls during the process? Was it a smooth, what's the word? No issues. In other words, that's something, because a lot of people, especially these instructions, sometimes they are a little bit is lost in the translation. So tell us, give us a little detail as to how it went. Was it issue free, non-eventful? That's what I was trying to come up with. And that way, anyone that has a P800 that is willing to spend an extra $60 is nothing, because then you will have a printer that can use third-party products. You can use Cone inks, the best inks in the business, for your P800. You can use Precision Colors inks as well. About second best to Cone, but still good. Cone is a little bit more expensive than any other ink, though. No, don't soak it again, David. Do not. No, please, no. You probably have aspiration of air in there. Just load your cartridges and passively just let it sit. Do a cleaning cycle, let it sit. Do not rush this. You rush it, you will mess it up. You'll need a new printhead. Guarantee you. Okay? So be careful. Just take your time. Patience. Soaking is something that you shouldn't really do, because ammonia is not really friendly to electronics, okay? So, all right. I'm interested and have a P800 that's rubber lively. Yeah, so William, go ahead and tell Robert here how it all went with you, with your installation of the chipless, so-called chipless firmware. Okay, let's see how much time we got. So we are almost at 7 o'clock, so that we got one more hour. Let me go ahead and cover one more subject. Okay, this one won't take too long. Are chips color specific? Yes. Okay, we're done. Yeah. So that was a question that I actually get more times than I could ever imagine. And again, it's fine. People just don't know. So, yeah, they are color specific. You've heard me talk about color ID codes. Each chip, like if you have 100 chips for yellow, each individual chip will have a different individual ID code for yellow, so that the driver, or the printer's internal computer will see it as a new entity. That's the problem with the P800. P800 wants to see a different ID code for any color that you exchange. So if you run out of black, photo black, and you put a new photo black cartridge out of the box, that chip will have a different photo black ID color code. It will accept it. The reason you could not reset those chips, even if you could reset them to a full level, is that the printer will see it as the same chip. And all of a sudden it's full. Wait a minute, hanky-panky's going on here. This cannot be, okay? So that's why. So this new chipless firmware will take care of that. Will make that no longer be an issue. The printer will just see it always full. In fact, I've seen pictures, the ink cartridge cover up, and you still have full indication of colors. How can that be? Yes. So obviously it must work. Okay, so William McCaw says, I had a little bit of a problem getting my P800 into firmware update mode. So yeah, that's basically a sequence of buttons you have to press. Also, the instructions from Chipless Solution were not completely clear. Yeah. So what we need to do is when Precision Colors goes ahead and does this, maybe we will have to rewrite those instructions, okay, for the rest of you guys. Robert Lively says, understandable, hard to write instructions. Yeah, I mean, especially you don't know where this is coming from. It could be Russia. Who knows? So, it always loses in the translation unless they have like somebody who lived in the USA writing instructions for them. And, they have a good command of our lingo. Otherwise, it can be very difficult to get a point across. Okay. Bob Carroll says, midnight here, so we'll say good night. Thanks for the help. We'll give it a go and let you know next week. Thumbs up, everyone. See ya next week. Robert Lively says, I had thought of this, but was not sure a US printer could take other market firmware. Yeah, me neither. And they also have it available for the P600 and the P400, which is really not necessary for those two printers because you can already use third-party products on them. They don't have that demand to see a different new color ID code every single time. Only the P800. Adam McKenzie says, Jose, you mentioned not to let Windex soak in the printhead. Can you elaborate? Yeah, you're just gonna actually, if you're gonna do this, you gotta monitor it quite closely. You're only gonna, what I do is if I put a layer of paper towels, I'll soak those, not so that there's Windex floating around, but just soak them to a certain extent and just let it rest right on top of that soaked paper towel. Okay, and then with a pipette or a syringe, drip very carefully from the back. It's not just soaking, that doesn't do anything. You got to add Windex from the top, the actual contact sponges. They are actually sponges on the cartridge printhead. On the printhead where the cartridges sit, there are these little sponges, or kind of oval shape. Some of them are round, depending on the model. And you just drop some Windex in each one, and then just monitor, lift it up, and you're going to notice ink coming out. Okay, as the Windex flows through the system, and then after no more ink comes out, you're going to go ahead and do the same thing, repeat it on a brand new set of paper towels. Wash all that Windex away from your tray. Put some more paper towels on there. Get them fairly damp so that the printhead sits, the nozzle plate sits smack on top of those paper towels. Put about that many, 1/4 inch thick layer of paper towels, and then drip distilled water as much as you can get through. If you get tired of doing it, you didn't do it long enough. And then make sure that if there was any hint of blue, because Windex is blue, continue dripping that water, continue changing those paper towels. And then once you're pretty much, satisfied that you washed out all of the Windex, let it dry, put it next to a fan. I mean, carefully put it like sideways, and then just, aim a fan at it. And no heat, just air. That's going to take a couple of days to dry. And then once that is done, then install it back in your printer, add new refilled cartridges, or new cartridges if you can afford to buy them, and then hope for the best. Cleaning cycle, a purge cycle will take place anyway. After that occurs, go ahead and run a nozzle check and check. Put the nozzle check. It's not going to be perfect, I guarantee you. So then run another cleaning cycle, check another, do another nozzle check again, compare. If you get 100%, you're done. Just let it rest overnight at that point. And that will make sure that anything that was any little bit of air that may still exist internally will be sort of, pushed out. Okay. That's all I can tell you. It's a very, very tedious process and dangerous to perform because you could really mess up your printhead. Okay. Alrighty. So, hey, why don't we just go ahead and do that demonstration? So let me tell you guys what I have here. So you guys know that I'm into drones, into drone photography, aerial photography, videography. So the Anafi that I have is my Parrot, French company. You saw it last week. Here are the information. So it's Parrot Anafi 4K camera, and the drone takes photos. It takes raw DNG 41 to 42 megabyte files, and let's see, JPEG is about 4.2, 4.3 megabytes. The DNG resolution is 5344 by 4026. The JPEGs are a little bit smaller, 4608 by 3456. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good resolution. Now, what kind of results do you actually get from this? Well, I went ahead and I walked halfway up the street so that I can then get past this big old tree, because I didn't want to bring the drone too high. And I just took a shot. I live on a dead-end street. It's kind of a hill. So as you look uphill, you will see my main street up in the top. So you guys can see how well this looks. If you guys shoot raw files with your cameras, you know that they are going to be rather dull looking. They will not have the brilliance that a processed JPEG out of the camera would have. But this is actually pretty good. So here is the raw file straight out of the camera. I printed it 13 by 19. Let me see if I can get this. So this is the raw file. It's not going to look as good as if you were here with me, I guarantee you. But you know what? You can count every single brick on all of these homes here. It is sharp as a tack. I mean, this is as good as my Nikon. And it uses a Sony CMOS sensor that's just a little bit larger. If you know what a Mavic Air drone is, then you know what I'm talking about. That drone's sensor, camera sensor, it's a little bit smaller than the Anafi. Okay, so here is the so-called process file. I removed distortion. Lightroom has the option to remove distortion. I'm going to demonstrate that in a sec. So here is the finished result. This is on the Pro 100 Pro Luster. And I don't know if I have autofocus on or not, but you can see how nice that is. All right, so what does that open up? Oh man, all sorts of opportunities. You can go to areas that are picturesque and are, you're able to fly legally, because that's the other problem. Around here, there's no place I can fly anywhere around here. I did that, but it was a little, iffy. If something went wrong, I'd be in a heap of trouble. But, thank God nothing happens. I mean, I just going up maybe 30 feet, and that's it. But just think, if you're not into video, you can just shoot photographs and load them in Lightroom, because Lightroom has some functionalities that not too many other photo editors have. I'm going to go ahead and show you what these are. So let me load up Lightroom here full. I'm going to jump over here directly to Lightroom. Now, as you can see, it looks kind of dark, dull. I use what is called P-Log, and P-Log is just like a profile, but it's actually very, very flat. And what you should do immediately upon loading these images onto Lightroom is to turn on these warnings right here on your histogram. So you turn on the black warning and the white warning. So anything that's red, or that means it's being clipped. Anything that's blue, dark blue, like right here, there's a little hint of blue. I'll show you. You see that? That is beyond black, in other words. You can see how sharp that is. This is the untampered image. And I think I may have even, look at that. I may have even used my zoom. Stop. You can read the stop sign. Okay. That's way up the street. Okay. So what I do to increase the dynamic range of any of these types of images, because they are raw, doesn't quite work very well with JPEG. So here in the develop window or tab, you have all of these different adjustments. I take the highlights, and you've seen me do this before, bring it down max. So I reduce my highlights. You see how it turned red? That's beyond white. So I'm going to reduce my highlights down to nothing. I'm going to increase my shadows max. And notice what's taking place. This looks almost like an HDR. Weird look, right? Okay, so here's the trick. We're going to now set the white point. So now that I reduce highlight to minimal and increase shadow detail to maximum, I got nowhere here is are my highlights ever blocked. And there's nowhere here where I see a blue warning anywhere. Well, there. We're going to take care of that in a minute. In fact, I'm going to leave it right there for you. We're going to take the black slider. We're going to hit the Alt key, and it will do that. I'm going to increase it. You notice that if I bring it down, all of that will be black. Look at that. All of that is beyond black, being clipped. So we're going to increase the black slider until, I mean, you know, if you have a few little black specks, that's fine. It's not going to really affect the image whatsoever. So now we set a black point. Okay, now we're going to set a white point. Again, Alt key. If we go down, nothing will show up until we start moving to the right. And you see these areas here on the roofs of the side gables of these homes. So we're going to set it right there. This is just under clipping. Just under clipping right there. Boom. There you go. So now we have maximized the amount, let's just say the amount of dynamic range that was available in that image. We've maxed it out, okay? Totally. You can see there's a little bit of red right there, so that's telling me that that's being clipped. So we're going to go back here, perform that effect again, and sure enough, okay. It doesn't matter. These are specular highlights. They're not going to have detail on them anyway, so no need to worry about those. So now it still looks kind of dull, doesn't it? It looks very, very low contrast, but at least we know we're not clipping highlights and we're not clipping shadows. Now we increase the contrast. And again, keep a look to make sure you're not clipping anything. And then you're going to literally, you can just grab that histogram, sections of it. We're going to move those midtones up. And that looks pretty good to me. And let's see, adjust that contrast. Okay, as long as you don't clip anything, you'll be able to see it here. You'll get a little clipping, and also here. So as long as nothing is being clipped, you're good to go. Okay, so now we got that done. Let's go ahead and do something else. We're going to do a clarity. And clarity adds sharpness in certain areas. So we're going to go ahead and increase that a little bit. In order for you to be able to see it, I'm going to have to use the magnifier. So if I lower my clarity, look what it does. It sort of becomes diffused. If I go to 0, it'll be normal. And then if I increase to like 24 or so, that's plenty of, let's make it 25. Clarity. Okay, so dehaze is a new feature in Lightroom that allows you to remove haze in pictures, in photographs. So this adds haze and this removes haze. But look what it does. We don't want to do that. So we're going to leave it at 0. Vibrance. Vibrance is a cool adjustment that will affect a variety of colors, not saturation. It will actually sort of like individually affect certain colors. If you have faces with skin tones, it will not have too much of an effect on skin tones per se. So we're going to increase vibrance just a bit. No, not the haze. Wrong one. Vibrance is what we want to do. So maybe 20. Now, if it starts looking a little bit oversaturated, then you have to kind of reduce that a little bit. So we'll put it about 10. All right, so now that looks good. I want to do something with that sky. It's kind of looking very dull. I mean, this is really nice here. It has nice contrast, but I don't like the way that sky looks. It needs to be snapped up a little bit. We'll take care of that in a little bit. All right, so we got all of those done. We don't want to add any more saturation, obviously. We can add a tone curve. You can click down and up right here. You get that classic slight S curve, and that takes care of that. And now we can sharpen. Now, the way that I like to sharpen is this way. We're going to go ahead and click on masking, hit the Alt key, and notice what happens. And we're going to reduce until only the edges of certain, surfaces are masked or shown. That means that I can apply, notice the sky. We don't want to apply sharpening to the sky. It'll just make it very grainy looking. So right about there, it's mostly affecting the edges. So now that we have that set, we'll go ahead and increase this. We're going to apply an amount of sharpening that'll be sufficient, about 100. And that's it. We can count the bricks. I mean, look at that. You can count the bricks over here as well. You can see the stop sign very clearly. All right. Now, in the darkroom days, we had to rely on burning in and dodging. But here's one thing that you could not do in a darkroom. Adjust distortion. Now, this camera lens and any camera lens will introduce distortion. So we're going to go ahead and click on this. You're going to see the difference immediately. See that? It removed the distortion. You may not like what you see, but now it's rectilinear. So any kind of curvature was removed. Look at the fence, how it removed the curvature that existed down here. This area from this point to here is supposed to be straight, not curved. So now it is. So when you do that, however, you will crop the image a little bit. So notice you're going to lose a little bit of the image. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and apply that. And now I'm just going to do a little vignetting, because that sort of brings your eye, not too much, that's way too much. So this kind of, and that's the opposite. So this kind of brings your eye toward this point of interest over here. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of dodging and burning in. So say you want to lighten this area here a little bit. Say it's a little bit too dark. You want to bring out a little bit of detail from there. I'm going to click on this brush tool here. Bring it over here. I don't know if you can see that if I roll my mouse wheel, it becomes bigger and smaller. So we're going to go ahead and just simply paint in this area here, like so. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of exposure increase and maybe a little bit of contrast and more exposure increase. Right there. Now I've added a little bit of pop to this area here. Click away from that. We'll do another one. We're going to do that to the sky. Nothing happens until you apply your effect. So let's go ahead and increase contrast and brighten the sky a little bit. Notice it's not affecting anything. Now, one of the really super cool things about Lightroom, and I'm just going to demonstrate this because it's not something I'm going to actually apply, but I want you guys to see this working, because we're almost done here. We are practically done. Not much else we have to do. What did I just do? Okay. So make sure my detail is good. I noticed something odd happening there. I'm going to go ahead and reduce the amount of sharpening. Reduce the amount of masking, that is. And I want to check that stop sign, because often you will introduce a weird artifact. Notice what happened there. See that? Too much sharpening, and it began to cover up. So we're going to do this. We're going to actually apply a little sharpening and detail. See what that does. Okay, all right, that's good. I can still see the stop sign. I'm not losing any kind of detail on any of these dwellings. The sky looks great. So now, what do we do next? Well, let me show you this. So we're going to click on this HSL color. And we're going to click on saturation. Right there. And sure, I can take blue and slide it and see what happens to the sky. Or I can just remove blue. It will not affect any of the other colors within that image. Only the actual blue of the sky or cyan. But you got a little tool here that you can just click on that and just bring it over to the area you want to adjust. And click and move up and down on your mouse. It's a little extreme, doesn't it? But you can adjust that specifically. So we'll leave it like right there, like that. All I'm doing is sliding my mouse up and down. You see that? I have that little tool there. So if there was like a color red somewhere, I could adjust that color individually. So I think we're practically done. Let's see what else is there. So notice right here, this is what's really amazing. Enable profile correction. So it's going to correct for what? For the parrot and Afi. Check it out. Isn't that amazing? It's got the Bebop Drone 1, the Bebop Drone 2.0, and the parent and Afi 23 millimeter 2.4 lens. So this lens aperture is even a little bit wider than the one by DJI, the DJI Mavic Air. All right, so I think we're done. Let's go ahead and set this for printing. So let's make sure we got a histogram that pretty much covers the whole area. And maybe increase this a little bit more. Right there like that. There you go. Now this looks really nice, evenly lit. Let's print it. All right. Go to the printing module. And I got, what printer do I have set up? We go to page setup, Pro 100, 4x6. Oh no, let's do something bigger than that. No 4x6 is here. What's the point, right? So we're going to swing over to the larger sizes. And we got to find that. Where are you at? Where are you? Oh boy. 13 by 19 right here. 13 by 19. We're going to click OK. Don't worry about the settings right now. Well, we'll do. We'll set it correctly. Pro Luster. I'm going to click on here. Matching. None. Or if you wish to use the driver, click on ICM. But we're going to print through an ICC profile. We're going to print through the one that I created. So make sure that you have your quality set high. 13 by 19. Pro Luster. Boom and boom. Uh-oh, what happened here? Well, the cell size is much smaller than I originally wanted it to be. So we're going to increase that. Say we want it to be 17. Remember, we have a 18, 13 by 19. So let's make it 12 by 18. 12 and 18. Boom. Zoom to fill. Well, look what happens. It has to be cropped in order for it to fit. So we can actually slide it up and down. And notice that this border, why is this border wider than this border? Hey, that's part of it. That's part of the way these drivers work. So let's do the trick that I showed you guys before. Go to the driver settings again. And this time we're going to activate borderless printing. We'll get a big nasty warning. We're going to say we don't care. Boom. And now we can bring these borders or these margins down to 0. And look at that. Magically now we have nice even borders all around. These are a little bit narrower than these, but still perfect. And you can still slide this up and down. So now let's set up our ICC profile. Because we're working on a Canon printer, we're going to have to do a couple of things. Make sure that your printing resolution is 300 ppi, pixels per inch. Sharpening on glossy. You either have glossy or matte. So this is a shiny paper, so glossy. And we'll set it to standard. And then we're going to choose my custom profile right there. Boom. And hit print. And it will come out perfect. Now, what if you want to use QImage? Well, here's the beauty of QImage Ultimate. File, plugin extras, QImage Ultimate. It will take this image with all of its edits and send it over to QImage. So we'll do the same thing we did in Lightroom, but this time in QImage. Oh, look at that. It wants to print. Remember, I had this set, I think it was set for 3.5 by 5s. So I can change this to whatever size I want. I mean, you know, check it out. You know, so we're not going to do that. We're going to set it to what size? 12 by 18. Boom. This time it's going to actually print the whole image, 12 by 18. That's it. Go to your printer and settings, and we're going to make sure that we tell it to control color with my profile. And look at that. It automatically changed the printer settings to no color matching for you. You don't believe me? Let's look. No color matching. None. Let's go ahead and change it. Watch. We'll change it manually. And, oh, it just said, no, Jose. We're not going to accept that. Let's check again. Look at that. It's not allowing you to make that mistake. See that? No double profiling any longer. Okay. Now, let's make this fit. Let me see if I could do this. No, I think that'll be it. There's a way to do that, and Mike's gone. So there's a way for me to then fill that whole image, and I forgot how to do it. But anyway, so that is the demonstration that you can just simply do to be able to edit these aerial images so that you get the most detail. Let me go ahead and load another one up real quick. If you guys are not bored yet. Oh, here's me. Look at that. Looking at the camera. The drone is flying. And again, we would apply the same technique. Increase the dynamic range to max. These are already processed. So you can take, this is the one we just showed you earlier in large print form. And again, you can see all of the adjustments that were made and applied. And I just simply sent it over to QImage. Here's the front of the house. Right there. Needs a little bit of work, I think. So notice I could get the map, the location map. Really neat. All right, so let's go ahead and apply distortion correction. Watch what happens right here. This curvy looking sidewalk. Boom, gone. No more curvy looking sidewalk. Click on R for crop tool, and I can then rotate this to make sure that it is level. Boom. And then apply my settings the way I did prior. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this. This was the way that I work with these images, and it seems to work very, very well for me. And it'll work for landscapes. It's just not really designed for any kind of like people pictures. Anthony Morganti was the originator of this technique. I think maybe a couple of other people may have had something to do with it, but I use it all the time for all of my landscapes, and especially my shots from the air. So again, drones, well, it's not just about having fun flying around, although that is, part of it, but also about using those tools to kind of open up new doors to your photography. What do we mostly do? We go someplace, we take our camera bag with us. We have a camera. I see I got my little Nikon down here. Oh. We take our camera out and we, shoot some pictures. Boom. I know I blinded you. And that's it. But it's always from the same, viewpoint. It's always from the same vantage point. Sure. You could climb a hill, climb a mountain on foot if you're fit enough to do that. My knees are killing me, so I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to take my drone up in the air and orient it the way I want. Gimbal, angle up and down, drone left and right, and altitude. What else do you want? So you set it the way you need to set it to be able to capture the angle. How do you know you're capturing that correct perfect angle? You're seeing it on your phone or your tablet. Okay. First person view, as it is known. So that is it. Again, I'm not going back. This is something that I'm going to be exploring. And by the way, even though here we are like practically 100% locked from any kind of flying, I do it in my backyard, but who's to know, right? But Puerto Rico, I checked, and gosh, like 90% of the island is open, no restrictions whatsoever. I want to go there. Of course, I cannot do it in San Juan, so I want to go to the interior of the island and do some really, really amazing flying, and then also the beaches, that type of thing. So that'll be a subject for another trip. Maybe I haven't been back in 35 years. So it's about time that I get myself and my wife over to my birth island, Puerto Rico. So, and do some of this stuff before I'm too old to be able to do it, if you get what I mean. So never wait until you're past your prime. So, by the way, this September 26th will be my 70th birthday. We're going to have a great time. I'll be back. Maybe I will do a very quick upload of a video. Just say hi to everybody, and maybe take a few shots from Disney World and upload them as we are having fun with the family. I think 4 of us are turning 70, so it's going to be a nice little visit. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Should I add some texture? Okay, how come wait a minute. Oh, William J. McGraw just gave me this. How come premium art watercolor papers are significantly cheaper than premium photo printer papers? Are you talking about like regular watercolor paper intended for painting? Because they're not coated, that's why. You can buy pads of that type of paper for, oh gosh, I used to buy my 18 by 24, 30 sheets of Canson Aquarella papers, 300 gram, 90 pound, for like $35. Okay. And that great big picture that I have that I shot in Annapolis, that outdoor cafe scene where I turned it into an oil painting, like, or watercolor painting, a painting of some sort. It's got brush strokes everywhere. I printed it on that paper and it turned out beautiful. But it's not coated. It's not inkjet coated, so it's going to be cheaper. Equivalent inkjet coated watercolor paper will probably cost you a bit more. In fact, as much as any other premium type paper. Jesse Gibson says, hi, everybody. I think you're a little late, Jesse. But anyway, I welcome you, Jacques Suave from Montreal, Quebec. And he also says, not sure I will stay on for too long. My attention span is about 20 minutes, just like 69 years old I am. Actually, I find that my attention span has grown tremendously the older I got. So I'm almost 70 within a couple of weeks. Well, almost. Yeah, about 2 weeks. The opposite with me. I have a lot more attention span. I'm able to concentrate on things that normally I would be jumping from subject to subject. I think that's the way I present things, don't I? Yeah. But anyway, I hope you appreciate the amount of information I usually put in my videos. I know sometimes I ramble on and go through subject to subject and I get yelled at. Somebody yelled at me that I could save everybody 7 minutes by telling you what the actual time code was when you finally got to the subject of the video. Just stop. I was giving you guys information you would have never found out otherwise. Yeah. So anyhow, that's just me, and I'm not about to change. If I changed the way I am, you would probably bail out and hate me. So anyway, Paul McAdams, I just sold my Pro 100. I won and went to a Pro 1000. Refilling the carts with precision color inks is the way to go. Yeah, it's very easy. Once you get to the nitty-gritty of the process, again, look at the videos on the site. Those are my videos. And you'll see how simple the process really is. And you don't have to do any kind of modification physically to the cartridges to be able to be refilled. You just simply refill them. To remove the chip, the original chip, you have to remove the white cap that holds that floating cartridge chip and insert the one that is already preloaded in a little holder. And guess who does that for you? He does. It's a tedious process. And he still sells it for $12. Are you kidding me? I think he's making about $1.50 per chip, really, because I know what he's paying for them. So that's why I appreciate this guy so much, because of what he does for the community. He's always very concerned about making sure that people are getting the correct products that work, and not just, when I say generic, I mean like, take one of the top ink makers in the US. They make an ink set for the Pro 10. It'll be the out of the box ink set. There's no tweaking. It'll be magenta, yellow, cyan. Yeah, that's it. There's really no tweaking. There's no matching the complexities of actual OEM ink. And Precision Colors works hand in hand with these labs to produce custom blends. And then once the right blend is tested, and that takes months, then that formulation goes to production. And they create, gallons and gallons of each color, blended to those specifications. And then that's what he sells to you and me. So no one in the biz will do that. So if you can find other inks that are cheaper, and you don't mind that, you will require profiling, by all means, go for it. Go for it. Yeah, it's no hair off my, you know what. But if you want to be able to go from OEM to lower cost printing without a transition period, seamless, then you got to pay a little more. That's where the extra icing on the cake comes in. That is that custom blending. And believe me, I would not do that. Okay, there's no way I would do that, but he does. So, okie doke. Jacques says, if I don't save my empties for Mr. Rodriguez, if he wants them, you could either sell them to finance the channel or use them suggestions for all. Sure, I would be more than happy to take them off your hands. I'll pay you for postage. If you want to pass them my way, I'll be more than glad to use them. I'm not going to resell them. I'll just use them for our own work here and research, if you will. So appreciate that. Paul McAdams from the Pro 100 and 1000. Alrighty, let's quickly look at the Facebook group and see what we have. It's been really busy lately. Here's an example of what happens. Let me show you this real quick, and so that you don't waste time trying to figure this out. Let me put myself in the lower right corner. You can see me right now, right? So here's a gorgeous shot. What would have been a gorgeous shot of that looks like some kind of rocky archway. I don't know where it is. Maybe out west, one of the desert areas. And the Milky Way in what should be black is kind of light gray. It sort of looks like halfway reverse, right? Look at the histogram. Look at the nozzle check. Can you tell me what's missing? PK. No PK whatsoever. Light gray and light gray, or light black and light black is the only so-called monochrome inks that are actually printing. So of course there's no black to accent these areas here. So you see right there, this all looks gray. It should be black. It should be nice and deep. So what's the suggestion? Well, I asked, are you refilling? One of the dangers of refilling, especially, and I don't know what he's using, because he may be here in the USA, and if he is, he's locked. Oh, if he's using OEM, then gosh, I don't even know how that happens. Usually you will never have a complete blowout of a channel where nothing prints. You see what I'm saying? So normally that just doesn't happen. If you look at the ink levels here, PK is about half, just under half full. So he should have ink, plenty of ink, assuming he hasn't have a card drain on him. Oh my gosh. Now, here's a safeguard. If he is, or any of you have this happen to you, and you are on OEM cartridges. OEM cartridges are engineered totally different than refillable cartridges. The refillable cartridge is just a compartment with some baffles inside and a priming chamber and a fill plug. And the ink is just inside this container. And air can enter when you open up the plug to refill, and air enters and it's exposed. The ink is exposed. Whereas OEM cartridges, the ink resides sealed inside a pleated bag, okay, made out of mylar. And so that ink is never exposed to air. So something like this would be almost impossible to occur if you were using original cartridges that have not been modified in any way, shape, or form. In other words, straight out of the box, you should not have that problem. Unless, for some odd mechanical reason, that cartridge may have emptied out, in other words. And you used up all of the ink that was in the ink lines and the black ink that was in the dampers. So what do? You take out the cartridge and you weigh it on a gram scale. Empty, it would be 60 grams. And full would be 150 grams. And that means there's a 90 gram difference. Yeah, there's 10 ml of extra ink on every one of these cartridges. So a blank PK, well, that means no ink is getting to that channel, period. How? I don't know. I really do not know. Let's see what's been discussed here. What are the suggestions here? See if anything makes sense. He says everything is okay now. I ran to, see, this is the first time I look at this. Everything is okay now. I ran 2 cleaning cycles. That cleared things up. So when I see something totally gone like that, air got in there somehow. Okay. Usually you don't lose all your nozzles magically like that. So that's what you need to do. You see some weird effect like that, run a nozzle check. Oh, my channel is gone, or I have a multitude of missing lines. Cleaning cycle. And continue printing. Let's see what we got here. People are getting banding, and banding comes for many, many reasons. Okay, there are so many. I want you guys to look at this. This guy made a sys unit for his Pro 100 that matches in design Marco Antonio M. Cabrera. No, that's one of the guys. I love this. His name is actually Nicholas Lee Nye. There he is right there. So very, very ingenious. Look at the way that works. Gorgeous. That's the way the ink, what was that company? Inkproducts.com. Apparently the sys that they sell is out of stock. But see that? That works perfectly. Cartridge has auto reset chips. And you're working from a set of tanks. What more do you want? And as long as you get perfectly consistent results without any kind of banding introduced by tension being applied to the printhead as it moves laterally back and forth, then you are all set. He gave you guys the information, what to get, how to do it here. So, and I think plastic drag chain, cable holders. Wow, this is awesome. And the cartridges. Very, very ingenious. I have to give him props. I don't know if I could do that. Let's see what else we got here. Ink Owl cartridges, Marrot, Again, go ahead, and if you haven't joined my Facebook group, go ahead and do so, and you'll be able to explore all sorts of stuff here, and many discussions back and forth. I belong to about 7 different groups myself, so I enjoy usually taking part in conversations with folks. Let me show you really quick now that it's almost, we're about maybe 20 minutes away from closing. Let me give you my, I went to Pennsylvania. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to me. I went to Pennsylvania to visit our friend. They live next to a golf resort called Penn National, Pennsylvania, Penn. So the owner, which he passed away, and the daughter ended up with like about 3,000 acres of land. Used to be farmland, and they divided it into home lots and started manufacturing homes and selling them to people, mostly retired people. So they're retired, living up there. You can smell cow everywhere, but it's still beautiful. And so we haven't seen them for about 1.5 years. So we took a drive up there, and we got out of the house a little bit late. So by the time we got there, it was already mid-afternoon, and we have to get back before dark because I don't like driving in the dark. I'm having some problems. So, and neither does my wife. So we wanted to get back before it got dark. And so my idea of flying around this beautiful farm country with my drone was also put to rest because halfway up there started to rain. And finally, when we had about half an hour to go before we were meant to start driving back, it did clear up a little bit, and it was very windy. So let me just quickly show you what I was able to grab, which is not much as far as some video. So let me set this up for you, then I'll switch you over. And then again, of course, keep in mind this is being streamed, so it's not going to be 4K. It's going to be much worse than 4K. So let me set this up. We'll switch over. I'm going to turn myself off here. Yeah, you go. Alrighty, let's roll. Make sure we've got enough volume here. Yeah. So this is just one of the homes next to him. This is a fairway road right here. The golf course is right across the street. Look at the wind just blowing. This is Dane. This is used to work for Metro here in BC. He retired and moved up there. He was a track repairman. So I got the Anafi floating around, and it's getting tossed around a little bit because this is really gusty. I mean, I was worried to take it up in the air too high. Look at the bushes here moving around. And this is at ground level. You can imagine what it's like, 30, 40 feet up in the air. So, the house is beautiful. I would love to live there. I don't think we're ready to leave the area though. So that is the golf course. Down there you can see the golf cars. And so I didn't dare go up too high because just the wind. I mean, look at these little whirligigs going crazy. Little tree right there. So I'm showing him what this can do because he's never been able to really see any drones per se, ever. I think his son once tried it and ended up in disaster. So just basically showing him what you can do. There's my wife, and this is Dane's wife. My wife and Miss Frances are very close friends. So again, we got like 15 more minutes to go before we have to head back. And you can see it cleared up a bit, but it just got windy. It really dried up quickly, by the way. But then again, of course, we spent an hour and a half shopping in the area. All of the Mennonite and Amish type of businesses in the area, so you can buy a lot of nice fresh stuff. Went out to lunch, and again, by the time we came back, it was a bit late. And then my phone, I realized it was down to only 20%, so I had to do a very quick charge. So yeah, everything went wrong. But I did manage to get a little bit of footage here to, share with you guys. He wanted to know, well, can this go really fast? Can it turn real fast? Because I normally hate yawing so abruptly, but he just wanted to see what kind of maneuverability the drone could achieve. You can see the trees just moving. I usually don't like flying in that kind of a condition. So I kept it low so you can see very clearly I'm not flying high. But yeah, this is the life. He's got a humongous basement that he has. His son, who is a stage manager for Netflix, has been putting up walls for him and stud work and drywall and subdividing the basement into shops and work areas. Yeah, I wish. That would be fantastic. There's my wife right there. And if you just drive up that way and then turn right and then left and drive for about, maybe 5 miles, you end up on the Lincoln Highway, Highway 30, and I-30, and then you can go east and end up in Gettysburg, which is what we did. And we managed to catch dinner there and then headed home. So now I'm going to bring it between the two dwellings here. The sky was really becoming rather pretty, so, and because I could, I brought the gimbal up. That's one of the things that the Anafi is known for. And let's see, I had another piece of footage loaded up. This is one that, let me see. Oh, I haven't even uploaded this one yet, so I'm not going to show you this one yet. I'll show you a little bit. Typhoon Q500. So this is a big drone, and it's got a very nice gimbal system, 4K camera. This is my backyard, so it's not going to be anything too wild. You can see the different quality or the rendition of color from certain different cameras with different sensors. And I apply a LUT, which is a lookup table, basically a color grading to most of my videos that sort of enhances the flat profile that these cameras produce. And again, I can't go up high. I'm restricted completely. And again, it depends. I'm going to do a live stream about drones probably sometime next week before we go to Florida. And I'm going to talk about applications that you use to figure out, the areas that you can actually legally fly and all that stuff. And they are very conflicting. Some applications say this and some applications say that. And some say it's a go and some say it's not. So it's very confusing. But as of the end of the year sometime, I will have to take a exam for recreational flyers, like a certificate. We'll see what that's about. See if it's very difficult. Do I have to do a lot of studying about, air maps and that sort of thing? But I think it's mostly a safety type exam, so we'll see. As more people take it, I'm sure YouTube will be full of people commenting on it. Anyway, as you can see, the Q500 smooth. But I did realize something. My propellers are a little bit out of balance. You can see right here, a little jello, they call that jello. that it kind of waves, and usually happens when you're yawing or going forward at a hard clip because of the change in RPM that the yaw motion imposes on your propellers, on your forward propellers, and that will cause a little bit of vibration, which the gimbal just simply cannot handle, even though it is an actual 3-axis, full mechanical 3-axis gimbal. Anyway, so we're going to come down pretty soon, I think. We've got about another 20 seconds to go here. Her yard is better than my yard, so I asked her if I could just fly up and take pictures of her yard. She says, no problem. Just don't take pictures of me, she says. Well, I told her, I promise I will not. All right. So, let me see what else we got here. Okay. And then, the one I just recently uploaded. Let's see if I could find it. Okay. Huh. Now I'm having trouble finding it. Okay, here we go. You know, I had to take the Bebop too because I have been ignoring that puppy for quite a while. So I took it for a walk. And all that means is that I walk around, you know, maybe 5 feet, 6 feet above the ground, and I go for a walk up my sidewalk. That requires a bit more control than your normal high altitude flying, which you can just basically go anywhere, and as long as you know you're not going to hit anything, you'll be good to go. This requires a little bit more diligence. You can see how bad my grass is. I got to cut this stuff tomorrow. So I start walking right behind it, so that requires me to keep an eye. Oh, gotta go up a little bit. There you go. Just barely clearing out the trash can that I was drying out by putting it upside down there. And try to fly over my car. There you go. Don't fly into the car, Joe. And this is the neighborhood. You can see I got wires everywhere, so you got to be really careful. But again, what I normally do is I just walk up and down the sidewalks with the drone. I stood like right in this area here when I shot the photograph of the street, looking up at the. Did you see that twig? Did you see that twig just go by there? Yeah, I'm glad I saw that. That would be all she would need to crash. That wreck of a fire, I think that's a Firebird. It's been there for about 20 years, maybe longer. I don't know what they're doing with it. UPS man is coming by. So you see what I mean? This is a good way to practice how to maneuver in fairly close quarters and, you know, not hit anything. Because if I was up in the air, it would be, you know, piece of cake. Just aim it and go. But down here, you got to keep eye on wires, you got to keep your eye on cars, bushes, and so forth. So this is what I do for practice. The more I do this, the better I get. This is the Bebop 2, by the way, 1080p. And all electronically controlled. You can see some yellowing there. Again, those propellers, you know, I have smashed that drone against some bushes a couple of times, so the propellers need to be changed because they're causing some jello. So another thing you should never do is use Chinese third-party propellers. This is a case where OEM is must. You must use OEM. Not necessarily for your batteries per se, because some of the, unless you're DJI user and they have constant supply of batteries, some of the other companies, they may have old batteries in stock that are not able to take a charge any longer, so you have to rely on third-party batteries. But as far as propellers and parts, OEM all the way. You just cannot trust anything else. All right, so let's go down the hill and make sure we don't hit a wall here. Oh, yeah, watch it, watch it. There you go. Turn to the right a little bit. What I was doing here is looking at my phone. I was trying to rely on just what the phone was displaying to me. And there's always a bit of a lag. So if you can pull that off, even with a bit of lag, then you're doing good. All right, I think that's about it. Hope I didn't bore too many people. Let me see if we lost anyone. No, we still got 29 people here. Yeah, we did lose some, of course. So anyway, I think that's about it for now. We'll finish a little bit earlier than we normally would, unless anyone else has a question to ask. And I'll give you guys a little bit of time here. Paul McCann's both, okay, he's talking about his Pro 100, Pro 1000, and George Gabb is saying good night. So you know what? Why don't we just call it a night? I think that'll be a good thing to do. So let's go ahead and play some different music. Let me find something else to play here. We'll leave you guys with something a little bit better. And let's see, how long is this? A little long. All right. I don't know what this is. It's got to be music that is not. No, I don't like that one. There you go. That's a little better, a little bit more lively. All right. So this is music. Oh, wait a minute. I think that one might be a problem. Let's see what this one is. Okay, that's kind of goofy. But we'll go ahead and play that one. And oh, somebody says flying a drone must be a lot of fun, like a ton of fun. It is. It actually is. It really, truly is. And if it was just that, like I have some toy drones. I got, several right now. I got 2 Q500s. Those are the big ones. If you guys are interested, check my drone playlist. Check them out. And those are the great big ones. They're with props, units about like that, almost 4 pounds worth of weight of flying weapon, if you will. And then I have some little tiny micro drones that are good to just fly around. You can fly it out inside a gymnasium or something because they don't do very well in even the least amount of wind. So then I have some other toy type drones that are GPS, so they are able to lock onto satellites and give you a very stable flight. But the cameras are terrible, so it's not really for video. It's just for flying fun. So the bebops, they really bring in that ability to allow you to place to just record some outstanding video without a gimbal. Okay, without a gimbal. It's able to electronically stabilize what it is seeing, and it uses 180-degree field of view, up and down, left and right. And so as the drone turns, it can actually follow anywhere along that field of view, and the electronic internal stabilization just smooths all of that out, as long as your propellers are balanced, or they haven't suffered from nicks that will throw them out of balance due to something bad you did. So those used to sell for about $400, $500. You can get them new sealed. They go like that. I saw some for $80, free shipping. So from New Jersey. So yeah, amazing. The only catch is that the batteries are just old and they may not even be able to take a charge any longer. So what they recommend is that you use a good third-party battery like a G5 or Jiffy, and those have a little bit more power. the so-called milliamps per hour output is higher, and so you get a longer flight. And the only problem is you cannot use the OEM charger, because the OEM chargers expects an OEM battery, because the OEM battery has a balanced charge board internally built, so you need a balanced charger to be able to charge those third-party batteries correctly. Okay. All right, so that is it. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with me. My voice is beginning to go, so we're going to switch over to you. Like that one? Yeah, I just did that one the other day, and I couldn't find my original one that I did. I think I somehow got deleted. So everybody, thank you again. We'll see you next week. I hope to have the last few videos recorded. Oh, I just hit my mic. And uploaded for this week. I'm going to be busy this week. Busy. So uploads will probably be less frequent than this previous week. So again, it's all good. If I find out anything new about that cyan ink as I perform the test, I'll let you guys know if it's worth it, if it's not, and I will also let him know. All right. Thank you so much. Happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.